And in the opposite spectrum of sight and fiber optics, the inside fiber optics are the same manner. What you think is sending wavelengths of numbers that are binging and banging around in a spiritual kind of vibrational sense. And it increases and decreases according to where your body is and where other people relay your body's spiritual momental feeling at that exact time. So when other people are thinking of you at the same time, you can connect, or you are connected in thought. Even if you don't think they're thinking about you, they're still there. And you can call on them when you learn how to do it. But I don't bother anybody with it because it doesn't make any sense why I would. Because then they just be like, why are you talking to me in my head? This is weird. I'd rather hold my cell phone in front of my face, Like I don't understand how you're doing that. And I've done that before too. I've sent messages with my mind. Just like you would imagine the thing I said about the fiber optics bouncing off the TVs to your eyes, to other people that are there with their eyes, and sometimes it can change. Even the puzzles will change, the things will change, and you could try to prove it to somebody and it won't work. Why? Because you're trying too hard to do what you can do. Do you ever do that before? I'm sure you have. But once you learn how to actually do it, you don't misuse it. You tell people how they live and grow and don't misuse each other and over-fascinate each other. So on the inner spectrum of that, the things you don't see, how cell phones work and how, like, we used to send stuff through wires in the ground, is that those mental thoughts connect to the next mental thought that like heat and cold work, that moisture rises and falls. But the things that move left and right are the wind and the circuitry and that kind of friction, and it goes in the ground and above the ground. So picture how waves go in and out on the seashore. Like the invisible that we think is invisible is the wind moving right and left, which is this other sway of our spinning of the earth. So when we're going up and down and the sun is changing slowly, it's because we're going the big way. That's why it's an 8. We go around it and back around it and back around it and back around it. And the way we spin keeps us staying in a certain spot because we are more of a giant mental brain that has like a divider in the center where water can divide it evenly in a big circle. And it has different spots that have grown up to the top, just like a giant circular water drop. But of course it's in space suspended. So as it loses some, it moves and it shifts, and it like could expand into teardrop formation. If it does it for too long, it gets too hot. It's like a big ice cube, and it moves faster. And worse things happen, and it spins and rolls like a ball. So somewhere in that area that shifts a little bit will have a bad wave and a bad storm and a bad tropical hurricane, because those are the center spots that have the bigger amount of sway when their attachment to the deep center of our core is swaying from you may not understand like trees do, but now these are masses of dirt and muck and trees and algae and grass and generations upon generations upon generations of past living things, people, whatever you want to call them. There were so many things, little and big, and so many little things. The little people that were 1 foot, 1 inch, 1 tiny centimeter, we've been all those things as we worked our way up. But we didn't make it, and we would look at other things, and we would dress as other things, and we'd put things over our heads, and we'd hide under leaves, and it was the most amazing thing. But during those times, our fears were giants, and those were humans at the same time. And it's actually happening right now. And they're hiding as bugs, and they're hiding as insects, and they're hiding as those. That's the fiber optic network. I mean, they have different looking bodies, but the living spirit that they are, that is now little pieces of memory that have been buried in the ground and not burnt and let go back to the spiritual world and remember themselves faster, they go back into the ground and they go back to the darkness, and all those little cells have to grow their way up through slugs and big monsters and big this, and so they have nightmares of memories that they did then. And that's the fiber optic network on the inside of the spiritual mind. That's why I call it fiber optics, because that's God's mind. It goes backwards and forwards, and you just know it when you know it. So the up and down and twirling shift, which would be like left and down or left and behind, would be like the upper if you put a loser finger in front of you, L, and it went to the left, and instead of being a forward right-facing L, it would be a left-facing L. So that's when it spins in that kind of figure 8 and 3 spin. And after, if it shifts the other way, it settles out, and like if you had a bowl full of water and you shifted it this way and you shifted it that way, but it was a water globe, and you could somehow spin it while it was hovering. I mean, we know that things do float and hover, and too far out you hover too much and can't breathe, or too far in you can't breathe, or you can breathe and can't hover, but you can't do both, because that's just how the mind works now. And we're working on doing things where we don't have to worry about that, and we're already doing it. It's just in a different dimension of mind that we can't see because we're not that close to the sun, so that our eyes don't interpret that color reflection on the physical world as much, but our minds already do. Our minds are everywhere at one time, and everyone gets that. But once you focus it, you grow your body with the right communication and the right taking care of. Like, you grow your body that way, and then you grow the world around you that way. And that's exactly how it works. I mean, we can't do it any other way. There will be no structure with money and government and power and authority, because you have to do things willingly to have them work right, or else those reflections, whatever you would say, balance throughout time. If you hate building this building, it may take 20 years for it to fall down, but it's not going to be sturdy and as great of a building as it could have been if you would have loved doing it. And if you would have only used things that were already taken from Mother Earth, that we're using as leftover supplies, and we're using what we have and remaking new things instead of poisoning and doing other things, and you slowly burn the toxins out of the things that we've used and make them pure again. It's not hard. It will take time, because our minds are stuck on thinking that. But until we can understand that the physical and spiritual world are merging at one time, and we actually control it with our mind, which is magnetics, that pushes us and pulls us closer to the sun and that fiber optic invisible world, and the universal mind that is just part of Earth. The universal mind is way, 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 way bigger, and it's just a word, universal. It's the all mind. It's everything. Nothing but a word, universal. I mean, all way more than anything anyone will. Everyone does understand this. I can't say more than anyone will ever understand, because their will does understand it. Their will, I am. Their who they are. Their I is. They are that. They are the island. They are all those things. The word Dan is right in island. It's just, it's silly stuff, but I don't say these things on purpose. It's just that it's all spinning around in my head, and I see the cosmic globe just twinkling and twiddling through its fiber optic and fiber optic networks of left, right, sway, and up and down. It's just the way we work. It's the way we do it. And we love the figure 8 because it feels good. The letters 6 and 9 are powerful because they're sexy when they appear next to each other. It looks like sex, so we want to do it. It's like, it's no one's fault. It's just you have to learn to control it. No big deal. You know? It's no big deal. So that's all I'm going to say for now, guys. Peace.